Yeah, the Las Vegas Raiders are playing their AFC West division rival Denver Broncos tomorrow, but the focus will be on next year. Tank season is upon us. I'm not saying any of the players and coaches are actively trying to lose games. I think tank season came by way of Gardner Minshew starting at quarterback. Either way, the hope now is that Minshew can get the Raiders Shedeur Sanders. He would already have himself a hell of a weapon in tight end Brock Bowers, but the Raiders need to be able to protect Sanders and give him a running game. That means the offensive line needs to get better. The Raiders have switched from zone blocking to power gap blocking, so changes need to be made. There's a change or two that can probably wait until next offseason, and there's a change or two that can be made now. First things first, let's start with the move that the Raiders seem to have already made. They moved Jackson Powers Johnson from guard back to his natural position of center. The move was made because Andre James, whom the Raiders just gave a big contract to come back as a starting center, got injured. James practiced this week, but head coach Antonio Pierce said in his presser this week that wouldn't change the starting offensive line, and it really shouldn't. That's how good Powers looks. This is a move the Raiders definitely need to stay with. James has been one of the worst centers in the NFL so far this year, and Powers played like an elite center the last couple of games. Add that to the fact that Powers didn't look that great at guard, and the Raiders really have to stay with the move. James wasn't very good last year either, but the Raiders went ahead and paid him in the offseason because there were other teams that were ready to bid on him. Well, I hope there's a team out there that wants him after the season because the Raiders need to rid themselves of James somehow. That's money the Raiders don't have to spend. Whether if it's the power gap scheme or the zone blocking scheme, Powers is the future at center. I'll tell you who another team will definitely want though. The Raiders would be able to get something for right guard Dylan Parham if they decide to go with the power gap scheme next year. Parham was playing very well at first in the zone blocking scheme because that's what he was made for. He's a smaller, more athletic guard that can make that block on the second level. He didn't look that good against the Miami Dolphins in the power gap scheme though. He got pushed back and overpowered. He's too small. He's listed at 6'3", 285 pounds. That's a big part of why the Raiders still couldn't run the ball despite changing offensive line coaches and blocking schemes. Back in 2022, I thought the Raiders drafted Parham to compete with and eventually replace James at center because James never became that guy. It doesn't take the biggest, strongest guy in the world to play center regardless of your run blocking scheme. They double-teamed big, nasty nose tackles in the power gap scheme, but the Raiders kept Parham at guard. This one obviously depends on the blocking scheme they use in the future, because in the zone blocking scheme, Parham is a high-value offensive lineman. One move the Raiders can make right now is move Thayer Munford to guard. As you know, Munford has been my guy, and no, I haven't given up on him as a tackle just because his last game as a starting right tackle was horrible. That's only one game, but you can't have a horrible game when there's a younger guy the team really likes behind you. DJ Glaze is the younger guy I'm talking about, and he's improving. I told you before that Munford would have been a franchise left tackle if he came out in 2021, but he promised his grandmother he'd graduate. But when he went back to Ohio State, there was a hole at left guard, and he volunteered to fill it. He ended up going in the 7th round in 2022 because NFL scouts weren't clear on what position he would play. I originally said he must not have looked too good at guard, but he was an All-American at guard that year. So be it that he did what he did at guard, the Raiders can use him there because Jordan Meredith isn't a fit there in the power gap scheme. He played well there in the zone blocking scheme, but he's small, so he gets pushed back and causes pulling linemen to run into him in the power gap scheme. Munford gives you your best 5 out there too. The Raiders have some changes to make on that offensive line. One of those changes could have been made already because James was healthy enough to practice this week, but it doesn't look like he got his position back. Based on how well Powers is playing at center and how he didn't play that well at guard, James shouldn't get his position back. As far as Parham goes, the Raiders need to wait and see what blocking scheme they use. He's the quintessential zone blocking guard, but he doesn't fit the power gap scheme because he's too small. Same with Meredith. That's why Munford should take his place now. He was an All-American guard at Ohio State and fits both schemes. He also gives the Raiders their best 5. Thank you for watching. See you next time.